Hello and welcome to this exploration of one of history's most fascinating trade networks. Today, we're delving into the intricate web of routes known as the Silk Road. This wasn't just a single path, but a complex network of trade routes that connected the East and West for over a millennium. The name Silk Road might conjure up images of camel caravans laden with luxurious fabrics, but its significance goes far beyond the trade of silk. It was a conduit for the exchange of goods, ideas, cultures, and even diseases that shaped the course of human history. Now you might be wondering why it's called the Silk Road when it wasn't just about silk. Well, the term is actually a relatively modern invention. It was coined in 1877 by Ferdinand von Richthofen, a German geographer. But don't let the recent naming fool you. The routes themselves are ancient, dating back to at least the 2nd century BCE. The name stuck because silk was indeed one of the most lucrative and sought-after commodities traded along these routes. Chinese silk in particular was highly prized in the West, especially in Rome, Egypt and Greece by the 1st century CE. I can see clothes of silk if materials that do not hide the body, nor even one's decency, can be called clothes. Wretched flocks of maids labour so that the adulteress may be visible through her thin dress, so that her husband has no more acquaintance than any outsider or foreigner with his wife's body. The Silk Road didn't spring into existence overnight. Its origins can be traced back to the Han Dynasty of China, which ruled from 202 BCE to 220 CE. It was during this period that the Chinese began to expand their influence westward into Central Asia. This expansion was driven by a combination of factors, including the need for military security and the desire for trade. The Han Emperor Wu became particularly interested in developing commercial relationships with the sophisticated urban civilizations of Fergana, Bactria, and the Parthian Empire. One of the key figures in the early development of the Silk Road was the Chinese diplomat Zhang Qian. In 138 BCE, Emperor Wu sent Zhang on a mission to secure an alliance with the Yuezhi people against the Zhongnu, nomadic raiders who were a constant threat to China's northern borders. Zhang's journey took him far into Central Asia, and although he failed in his primary mission, he returned with valuable information about the lands to the west. His report sparked Chinese interest in Central Asia and laid the groundwork for future expeditions and trade missions. Thus more embassies were dispatched to Anxi, Parthia, Yankai, who later joined the Alans, Lygian Syria under the Greek Seleucids, Tiaoji, Mesopotamia, and Tianzhu, northwestern India. As a rule, rather more than 10 such missions went forward in the course of a year, and at the least 5 or 6. The development of the Silk Road wasn't just about trade though, it also played a crucial role in the spread of technologies, religions, and even diseases. For instance, the production of paper, which was invented in China, spread westward along the Silk Road. Buddhism, which originated in India, travelled eastward to China and beyond. And in a darker turn of events, the Black Death, which devastated Europe in the 14th century, is believed to have spread along these trade routes from Central Asia. The Silk Road reached its zenith during the Tang Dynasty in China, which ruled from 618 to 907 CE. This period is often referred to as the Golden Age of the Silk Road. The Tang Empire was at the height of its power and influence, and it maintained a policy of openness to foreign cultures and trade. This created ideal conditions for the flourishing of commerce along the Silk Road. Chang'an, the Tang capital, modern-day Xi'an, became one of the largest and most cosmopolitan cities in the world, with merchants, monks and envoys from all over Asia and beyond. During this period, the Silk Road wasn't just an overland route, there was also a significant maritime component, with Chinese ships sailing as far as the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. These maritime routes complemented the overland routes and allowed for even greater volumes of trade. The Tang Chinese were particularly interested in exotic goods from the West, such as glassware, which they couldn't produce themselves. In return, they exported not just silk, but also ceramics, tea, and other luxury goods. As a rule, rather more than 10 such missions went forward in the course of a year, and at the least 5 or 6. It's important to note that the Silk Road wasn't just about east-west trade, it also facilitated significant north-south commerce, connecting the steppes of Central Asia with the Indian subcontinent and the Middle East. The Sogdians, an Iranian people from what is now Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, played a crucial role in this trade. They were skilled merchants who acted as middlemen, facilitating trade between China and the West. Their language even became a kind of lingua franca for trade along the Silk Road. The decline of the Silk Road was a gradual process that took place over several centuries. One of the key factors was the fragmentation of the Mongol Empire in the 14th century. The Mongols, despite their fearsome reputation, had actually facilitated trade along the Silk Road by providing security and stability across a vast swathe of Eurasia. When their empire broke apart, this unified system collapsed, making long-distance trade more difficult and dangerous. Another factor in the decline of the Silk Road was the rise of maritime trade routes. As European naval technology improved, it became more efficient to transport goods by sea rather than overland. The Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama's voyage to India in 1497-98 opened up new possibilities for direct trade between Europe and Asia, bypassing the middlemen of the Silk Road. This shift towards maritime trade was further accelerated by the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, which disrupted the overland routes between Europe and Asia. From 1453 onwards, the Ottoman Empire began competing with other gunpowder empires for greater control over the overland routes, which prompted European polities to seek alternatives while themselves gaining leverage over their trade partners. The decline of the Silk Road had profound implications for the regions it had once connected. Central Asian cities that had thrived as trading hubs fell into decline. The exchange of ideas and technologies that had characterized the heyday of the Silk Road slowed down. However, it's worth noting that some elements of the Silk Road trade continued well into the modern era. For instance, the silk trade between China and the West persisted until it was disrupted by the collapse of the Safavid Empire in the 1720s. The legacy of the Silk Road extends far beyond trade. It played a crucial role in the development and spread of major world religions. Buddhism, for instance, travelled from India to China and beyond along these routes. Christian missionaries also used the Silk Road to spread their faith eastward. Islam too spread along these trade routes, particularly after the Arab conquests of the 7th and 8th centuries. This religious exchange led to fascinating instances of cultural syncretism, where different belief systems interacted and influenced each other. The Silk Road also had a profound impact on the development of art and culture. The exchange of artistic styles and techniques led to the creation of unique hybrid art forms. For example, Greco-Buddhist art, which combined elements of Greek and Indian artistic traditions, flourished in Central Asia and had a significant influence on the development of Buddhist art in China and beyond. The transmission of stories and legends along the Silk Road also contributed to the development of literature in various cultures. These different schools and movements of Buddhism were a result of the diverse and complex influences and beliefs on the Silk Road. In the realm of science and technology, the Silk Road facilitated the spread of numerous innovations. Paper-making techniques, which were developed in China, spread westward along these routes, revolutionizing the dissemination of knowledge in the Islamic world and eventually in Europe. Similarly, gunpowder, another Chinese invention, made its way westward, profoundly impacting warfare and politics. The exchange of agricultural products and techniques also had far-reaching effects, introducing new crops to different regions and changing dietary habits across Eurasia. Today, the legacy of the Silk Road continues to captivate our imagination. In recent years, there's been renewed interest in the concept, with China's Belt and Road Initiative often being described as a new Silk Road. While the modern incarnation is primarily about infrastructure and economic development, it draws inspiration from the ancient network that once connected East and West. The UNESCO World Heritage Site designation of the Silk Roads, the routes network of Chang'an-Tianshan Corridor in 2014, further underscores the enduring cultural significance of these ancient trade routes. The United Nations World Tourism Organization has been working since 1993 to develop sustainable international tourism along the route, with the stated goal of fostering peace and understanding. As we've journeyed along the Silk Road in this exploration, we've seen how this network of trade routes was far more than just a means of exchanging goods. It was a conduit for ideas, technologies and cultures, shaping the course of human history in profound ways. From the spread of major world religions to the exchange of scientific knowledge, from the blending of artistic styles to the mixing of cuisines, the impact of the Silk Road can still be felt in our globalized world today. What strikes me most about the Silk Road is its role as a testament to human curiosity and the desire for exchange. Despite vast distances, harsh terrains, and cultural differences, people found ways to connect and trade. This spirit of exploration and exchange continues to drive human progress today. As we face global challenges in the 21st century, perhaps we can draw inspiration from the Silk Road, a reminder of our capacity for cross-cultural cooperation and the power of connection in shaping our shared future. The Silk Roads were a complex network of trade routes that gave people the chance to exchange goods and culture. Thank you for joining me on this journey along the Silk Road. If you've enjoyed this exploration, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Your support really does make a difference and encourages me to delve into more fascinating historical topics. Do let me know in the comments if there are other aspects of world history you'd like me to cover in future videos. Until next time, keep exploring the rich tapestry of human history.